In my tweet, I also mentioned how Al Mazrah is an elite tier map. It is absolutely amazing. And the physical extractions via the exfil choppers were goated. Still to this day, I don't think another extraction shooter has actually beaten DMZ in their implementation of the actual extractions from the map. I still remember being at COD Next 2022 and getting a chance to play DMZ there for the first time. Cold introduction, no idea what I was doing. But the thrill of working out that you needed to hop on that exfil chopper and leave the exclusion zone before the gas washed over you and killed you was incredible. And several missions within the faction structure lent into those moments through the different seasons. Perhaps my favorite ever DMZ mission was Exfil Tracker, where you were tasked with tagging 3 enemy-hailed exfil choppers with a radio transmitter. You couldn't call it in yourself, you had to wait for an enemy to come along and hit the exfil in order to tag those choppers. That led to some crazy moments, sometimes friendly ones, using comms to talk to the enemy team and let them know what you needed to do, and some of them letting you do that, and other times, before you could even open up comms, the enemy team sees you close by as a threat and immediately engages you. The physical extractions are so cool because they're a shining beacon of PvP to the entire rest of the lobby. They completely switch up what people were doing on the map, and it immediately raised the stakes. Now, obviously, DMZ didn't have much cool loot to extract, but if you did happen to have some cool stuff like 3-plate vests and different backpacks that you hadn't come in with, then the tension of wanting to leave with that stuff obviously played a part in that moment when you called in the extraction. Plus, it was cinematic as hell. Arc Raiders comes close to this with its elevator shaft extraction, but DMZ still clears for me. One thing I will say is that I wasn't a fan of the upgrade system to shorten the amount of time that it takes for a maxed out extraction chopper to arrive. You could level that up pretty fast, and in the end, most players had that enabled, and it meant that the amount of time that you needed to wait for a chopper to spawn and land was incredibly short. So I'd like to see that either removed as a mechanic or the impact of it lessened in a future iteration of DMZ. Who knows what Infinity Ward has planned for this, but I do hope they keep the physical extraction shoppers themselves because those things were just amazing. Final extractions as well is something that I mentioned in my tweet, that 90% of the time, we take the final extraction chopper because once again, it massively increases the tension. The ever-expanding gas zone, the threat of other enemy teams also racing to catch the last ticket out, the threat of you losing your loadout and potentially not completing missions that have an extraction condition on them, it all builds up into one final big moment, which is why we take it all the time. It's just there for the tension, and it creates cool gameplay.